Hello and welcome back to the Twisted Cast. Today we're going to be going over our thoughts, opinions, and basically review of Twisted Metal 4. If you guys want to see our reviews of Twisted Metal 1 through 3 so far, check it out in the playlist below. But with that, we're going to pretty much just talk about how we first got to playing Twisted Metal 4 and like when we first got it in our hands, really. For me, it's pretty much the same story as the last episode with Twisted Metal 3. I got it in like a duo pack for a Christmas present back in, I think it was 99. It was when TM4 I think came out. I remember getting it for Christmas with TM3 at the same time. And at the time, if I can recall my earliest memories, I think I played TM3 a little bit more than TM4 from what I remember. But coming back to it nowadays and making content on it, I definitely prefer TM4 over TM3 any day, for just a lot of reasons that we'll get into later. But yeah, so my earliest memories was definitely like the winter or Christmas of 99. But I'm actually really curious, Dave, when did you first get your hands on TM4?
Well, I received a copy from Sony way back in the day, and I never opened it.
Oh,
So I never played Twisted Metal 4. But knowing that we were going to be talking about it, I've been playing it throughout the week and streaming it. And you can go see me flail, curse, and say some very controversial things about it. But yes, I've done playthroughs with Garbage Truck, or sorry, Trash Man, and uh, and then also Rob Zombie's character. But
Mr.
yeah,
Zombie.
my first time was this week. I broke the. I'm no longer a TM4 virgin anymore.
Hell yeah.
Round of applause.
Mel
Fantastic.
Melvin approves.
Well, how about you, Kong? When did you first get into TM4?
This was actually the first game I ever played. So,
Really?
yeah, I remember I was 3. I remember when I played it for the first time, and I remember I picked Orbital, and I lost in the first level, like entirely. But I played this game a lot. This is the only Twisted Metal game I'd go back and play on the regular, like throughout my lifetime. Like I wouldn't really ever bother playing the other games because I just didn't really give a shit at all till like 6 months ago. So I definitely spent like most of my time playing this as a kid. Like this was one of my favorite games as a kid.
That's
Even though,
awesome.
it has its fair share of issues, but I still like the game. Even still looking over the nostalgia, I still like the game. Still think it's a fun experience.
And getting it
Was it
at
the same thing
3
for
years
you?
old, like, did you get it from like a
Oh,
hand-me-down or was it like a gift or?
I have no idea. I mean, my brother had a bunch of PlayStation 1 games, and that's how I played a majority of those games. I
Hell yeah.
I don't know. I don't. He must have got it from somewhere or got it from one of my other family members or something. I don't really know. That's the thing. I mean, it's all a haze because I was so young at the time.
Yeah.
But I was playing and I was playing my brother's Xbox. I remember I played Halo on that. Played this. I'd go back and forth, and I'd play those two games when I was that young.
Hell yeah.
But was it the same thing for you, Winters?
Oh hell
Did
yeah!
you played it as a little boy?
Oh yeah, back in my youngin' days when I didn't remember Jack Squad. Actually, yeah, Twisted Metal 4 was one of the games that remember vividly playing a lot. I think so. Funny story. I think my cut like I mentioned the previous like episodes, like my cousins own this game, and I think I actually took this one from them.
Yeah.
Because
What?
I talked, yeah, because I talked to my cousin. He's like, yeah, you because like when I was like older, he's like, yeah, like you got the game, but you took to the fucking original that we had. I'm like, really? They're like, yeah. And I'm like, oh shit, all right, I guess it was meant to be. Because yeah, I remember I don't know, I fucking loved playing the game on the PS1 all the time as a kid. I remember like being able to get through it as a 4-year-old. Strangely, like I would always put God mode on, but no, even if I was in God mode, I still be like scared of Sweet Tooth and shit because of his stupid overpowered special. And I even remember again, just weird. I have vivid memories of this. Is that I remember I don't know if I lost it or broke or what, but I remember I didn't have Twisted Metal 4 anymore, and I went to my dad. I'm like, hey, Dad, like. I don't have that card game anymore. He's like, that card game? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, Oh, was it the one with the four? I'm like, yeah, the one with the four. The twisted something. I don't know. I couldn't even fucking speak yet, right? I guess I don't know. And he's like, and I remember going to a Walmart, and he actually like in the PS1 section, he bought me a brand new copy of Twisted Metal 4, and it was actually 14.99 at the time. Like
Oh.
I somehow I remember the price. And he's like, "Here you go." I'm like, "Fuck yeah!" So whenever my mom's cleaning or the family's doing whatever, I'm just fucking playing Twisted Metal 4. And even today, it's still one of my top games. Like out of all the Twisted Metals, it just I always keep coming back to it. I don't know why. It's
Hell
just
yeah.
fun. So
I hope you
uh,
send your dad a happy Father's Day card every year
yeah,
for doing
yeah.
that for you.
Yeah, it's so like I don't know, it's like it's so weird. Like it's like those certain memories, like thinking back, like fuck, I was 4 years old. I remember that. I don't know. But it's kind of fond memories. I like it. So, but what about you, Drew? How'd you get into Twisted Metal 4 for the first time, and how do you feel about it?
Oh yeah, yeah. I think like Goodrich, I really didn't get into this game and like really took it seriously until somewhat recently. But as a child, like many of you, I did play it, but nothing really stuck in my mind from that experience except for like the intro cinematic with like the old timey with Sweet Tooth, like encountering the Twisted Metal tournament and stuff like that is like ingrained in my mind for some reason. And then the soundtrack of the game. But
Oh,
the
yeah.
actual like having a controller in my hand and like engaging with it, I have no memory whatsoever of it. I think I played a lot more TM3 as a child for I don't know any right. I mean, children are dumb for the most part, so I think maybe that's why I chose the worst game. But I think looking at it now as an adult with like adult brain eyes, I think it's great. I think it feels more smooth and more like viscerally satisfying than the other PS1 Twisted Metal games. So I think for that, it's great, but I don't have the emotional connection that I think many of you guys have. So I am curious, like where you guys are, like how you feel about it, how passionate are you, and why, so that maybe I can reach that level of love like you do.
You will ascend.
Yeah, one day when I'm worthy, I will. I mean, Danny DeVito, I think, is worthy of me like making that leap of faith to enjoy the game because I think he's my favorite like meme character in Twisted Metal is Trash Man Driver's Daddy DeVito.
Oh.
Wait, what?
The driver of Trash Man or is the truck called Trash Man?
Yeah.
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 That's ridiculous. Okay, what's the driver? Whatever the driver's name is, it's Daddy DeVito.
Tra-
I think Trash Man.
I think
Trash
it's just
Master.
Trashman.
Yeah, he
Trash
doesn't have a name.
Trash Master.
I think it's
Yeah,
Trash
it's-
Master.
What?
It
What
would
a
be in
name.
the manual.
Danny DeVito, no, he called himself Trash Man. He was like, I'm the Trash Man. I get in the ring and I
Jesus.
pick up trash and I throw it around.
God damn it.
It's
Yeah.
true.
I mean,
just
he's
assumed
voiced by
everyone
Big
knew
the
the
Cat.
reference. I didn't even bother to explain. Yeah, you're right. Thank you, Goodrich.
Sorry.
It's funny, like we ended up landing on V8 with or V8 Second Offense with Garbage Man, but we didn't even look at Twisted Metal 4, so those two vehicles and names just happened to come out organically, I think.
That's awesome.
And speaking of V8, the sequel to V8 Second Offense came out the same year as Twisted Metal 4, correct?
I think you're right. I
In
would have to
99.
double check
99.
that.
Yeah.
I think V8 came out in December and Twisted Metal 4 came out Halloween. So like or like a
Yeah.
month or two apart. They're very close together.
Uh-oh. I wonder if they're looking at our early builds again. And they're like,
Maybe.
guess what? We're gonna stick. They got Garbage Man. We're putting in Trash Man.
Maybe, honestly.
It could have happened after hearing what Jim Bucks was saying that was going on over at Sony.
Yeah.
I guess good on them, man. It's competition. You got to do your research.
Mm-hmm.
Trash is my name, Cole.
I think that shows a lot of confidence in V8 on your part that you didn't even bother to touch TM4 until
Yeah.
later in your life. Like, no, we got this on lock. We don't need to know what the competition's doing.
Right.
There's
Yeah,
no way
I
they can
definitely
reach
checked out
us.
3. I checked out 3, but I never checked out 4, and I don't know why. It's probably that I just got so deep into crunch and dev cycles with
Yeah.
V8 and the other games that I just didn't have time to play games outside of work.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, and surprisingly, when TM4 launched, I didn't know that. Like, I was doing a little bit of research before this recording, but I was surprised that even back when TM4 launched, it came out at a 68.4% on game ranks, whereas TM3 only had a 49%. So
Interesting. Wow.
Oh, that's wild.
yeah, like I didn't think I kind of just assumed like 3 and 4 were lumped together as bad games. Like they just were, across the board negative reviews back in the day. And that's why they're just heavily regarded as like the worst games ever made. It's pretty much by like any TM fan. But that was cool to see that it actually didn't get that bad of reviews. It actually was, like a C plus B minus rating, which isn't terrible. And then the funny thing is this other post, I put this in my notes where it says both TM3 and 4 were retconned out of the main series by the release, except until the release of TM Head On in 2005. So, according to the wiki, apparently they're saying that like after the release of Head On, TM 3 and 4 were no longer retconned, I guess, by the community.
It's probably because people just started realizing like this is so stupid, like there's no point of taking this seriously, and then just like
yeah,
use their brain.
Retcon implies that there was ever like a consistent lore to be retconned.
I guess,
which I think is interesting. Like what timeline are they looking at where they're like, oh, this doesn't make any sense? Like it never made any sense.
Right.
Whether it's retcon or not makes no difference whatsoever.
Yeah, maybe they're just meaning in the sense of canon, like
right. But there is no canon.
Right.
I mean, there was never a continuation of story other than like 1 to 2 with like Outlaw and shit. But yeah, I don't know.
It just sounds like someone looked at 3 and 4 and they're like, I don't know if this makes sense. There's 1, 2, that makes sense. Okay, 3. No. There's ridiculous.
Too many numbers.
They took it seriously.
I can't count that high.
Twisted Metal universe.
The cinematic universe.
Cinematic universe of Twisted Metal. That's impossible.
That's
a very diverse ecosystem of characters and themes. So I mean, I get it. It could be a cinematic universe.
Yeah. That's true.
Disjointed and chaos, but I mean, it's a universe.
Yeah. I think it was retconned out because it wasn't made by Incognito or Single Track.
Yeah, definitely.
Or that Jaffe wasn't involved with it. I know they didn't think much of 3 and 4 back in the day. I heard it firsthand a couple of times.
Yeah. And it's sad.
This is a shame because it has some good stuff in it. It's got some groundbreaking stuff in it, actually.
Yeah,
I know, like especially Sonic voices Pizza Boy. Like, come on.
And Melvin.
Yeah, Melvin. What other game has Melvin?
None.
Name one game with Melvin.
Exactly.
Big the Cat voices Trash Man. Like,
yeah.
Like, come on.
I mean,
you got the Sonic characters in there.
Mark Hamill did the voicing in this, right?
Did he?
Good Lord. I don't think so.
I don't think so.
What a star.
It sounds exactly like the Joker from the TV series, narrating it.
That did Melvin? Melvin's voice?
Possibly. Let me look this up.
I'll look at IMDb right now. I'll try to get the cast for you guys.
I know we looked this up before. It does show who played Melvin, but I don't remember his name.
Yeah, if you used to watch the old Batman animated
series. His name, like John St. John or something?
John St. John did Melvin.
Yeah.
Mel McBurney reprised his role as Calypso.
Mm-hmm.
You have Ryan Drummond did Connor Nazang, Pizza Boy.
Mm-hmm.
Sonic.
And no name really sticks out to me as notable.
Yeah. And didn't John St. John also do Big Cat?
It sounds just like him.
He did Big the Cat.
I can see that though, Dave. I can see the resemblance because I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I wonder if the voice actor tried to mimic the Joker style for that. That would surprise me.
Yeah,
because it fooled me. It definitely fooled me. I was just like, that's got to be Mark Hamill, but apparently not.
John St. John would be very. He would take that as a big compliment. So that's awesome.
Yeah, John St. John's very talented. He's been in a lot of games.
Yes. Yeah, I think he's still voice acting. I could be wrong.
It looks like he is, according to IMDb.
That's sweet. Yeah, good for him. And like with TM4 too, the other thing too that always sticks in my mind that always creates, I guess, like a memory in my mind as a kid is how I thought it was so weird that it was the only Twisted Metal, and it still is the only Twisted Metal where Calypso's not running the contest. Really, it's Sweet Tooth, and I always thought it was a really cool idea to go against Sweet Tooth as a final boss. Now, again, this is putting aside that Sweet Tooth as a boss sucks ass, but But the idea was there, you know. I thought that was cool. I know a lot of people immediately wrote that off as like, this is stupid. I don't like Sweet Tooth being the head honcho. I miss Calypso. And it's like, I get that. But I also think it's cool that they tried to, I mean, some people might like say that, oh, they jumped the shark. But in my opinion, I think it was a cool creative decision to be like, let's make Calypso a playable character. And let's have him try to win back the contest that he lost to Sweet Tooth. So, I don't know. I always like that story of TM4, honestly. The overall story of it, I think, I could be wrong in this, but I feel TM4, Small Brawl, and Black have like the strongest overall like story arc out of like that make the most sense. Because like, Small Brawl is just, oh, it's a high school bully that wants all these kids to be in this contest. They're all kind of getting revenge on him in a way. And then Black, as you know, is all from the asylum, so they're all crazy. And then it ends up all being in Sweet Tooth's head, which is like a canon thing there. And then TM4 is, oh, this was a contest going on for a long time, but Sweet Tooth won this contest, ended up taking the ring from Calypso, I guess, and taking over the entire contest, which makes like an overall story plot, which I think was really ambitious and kind of smart, I guess, for the time.
Yeah, I think TM4 had a very creative premise, for letting the cars come together the way they do.
Mm-hmm.
But I do want to go back to Sweet Tooth as a boss, which I'm sure we'll talk to more later because he's entirely bullshit. But does it make sense that he's a final boss? Like, as the showrunner,
No.
Why would he want you to kill him
No,
in order to win?
And then he's alive.
Yeah.
Like, you kill him, but then he's in the background juggling when you're getting your wish taken.
Yeah, nothing's wrong. Everything's fine.
Yeah,
Like, Calypso never wanted you to kill him, right? Like,
Yeah.
it would have been cool if like the big circus tent just started spawning tiny clown cars and it was his minions and that was like the final boss was like the Melvin and all the other guys coming out.
That would have been cool.
You got to fight a bunch of them instead of one giant overpowered Sweet Tooth that is just a nightmare to fight.
What if over the horizon of the roller coaster you see off in the distance Melvin stomping into the arena?
Just a giant Melvin.
Yeah.
That'd be, yeah. I like, yeah.
They have the little like custom cars, like the tiny little Miatas that they have in there. Like that could have been a nice car to use to kind of like have like the henchmen come out of the car, like the tent.
Yeah, I could have seen that.
And that makes me think that you could do that, like have the henchmen driving like randomized custom cars, like have just 3 of them that are every time you play, it's a different combination of the created cars. I think it'd be a nice way to shake it up for sure.
Yeah.
Although we're talking about ways to improve the game, when we should just be talking about like the game itself.
No, I think that's okay to bring up Sweet Tooth as a final boss being interesting. Like, like Dave said, or Drew, I don't know which one brought it up, but it doesn't make any sense why he would be the final boss. Like that is dumb. But I guess you could look at it in 2 ways. Like, one, yes, maybe it's not actually him driving the car. It could be a minion of his, and he just set him out there to know he's either gonna die or he's going to kill the final person and there will be no winner. But on the other hand, you could look at it as, well, a lot of the game, including the levels, don't really make sense. Like, there's a lot of mystical, like, time travel and stuff happening. Like Neon City clearly takes place in the future with Moonbuggy being the main boss. And then the bedroom, now you're all shrunken down to the size of an RC car, and you're also in the past because you're in Sweet Tooth's childhood home. So in reality, I guess you could look at it as maybe it is Sweet Tooth that you're facing, but he just can materialize back to life after you destroy him, and then he grants you the wish. There's a lot of ways to go about it, I guess. That it doesn't deliberately tell you how it works, but I guess you can make assumptions as to how it works.
Makes more sense
you're
of
putting
a
more
lot of
thought
more
into
than
it
the
than
other
they
theories
do.
people say.
Yeah.
Or it's all in his head, and that's why you're actually in his childhood bedroom.
Right.
They actually created the Black storyline before Black did.
It's all in Sweet Tooth's head.
It was all in his head. How
Could be.
else would you know what his childhood room looked like? Like,
That's
unless
true.
it was actually in Sweet Tooth's head.
We go back in time to Amazonia 3000 BC.
That's true.
Maybe he's just really into volcanoes and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a book on the shelf in his room. He was reading about the Amazon, so that was his
really cool.
imagination about what the Amazonia would be.
Could be.
What if Axel was here, but he was super Axel?
And edgy.
Really? He's got spikes. Spiky Axel.
And speaking of Axel, like in general, the boss battles in TM4 with every level having a boss. Where did that come from? Why that's my biggest issue with TM4 is the having a boss on every level.
My theory was that instead of having regeneration like TM3 did, they wanted to have that same mechanic but not have it so redundant, like having, oh, it's the same enemies you would normally be fighting, but they just pop in later on. Like, it's just a way to have that regeneration mechanic but still make it more interesting.
But they already do that
that's my
before the
theory.
boss, though. Like in the first level, you go against two characters at the beginning. Once you kill one of them, another one spawns without telling you, and then you kill that one and the other guy, and then a final boss pops up, which is Crusher.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe they just thought more bosses equal better. Because at that point in the series, like every game had more bosses than the last. So
Really?
maybe like they thought that upping, yeah. Oh, well, Twist Metal 1 had 1, 2 had 2, 3
Oh,
had
yeah.
3,
Yeah, I guess
and
you're
then
right.
4 was like, fuck it, we're not doing 4.
We're doing 9.
Yeah.
We forgot how to count.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because like how many characters that are like playable characters are in this game is ridiculous.
It's wild.
If you count the four unique created cars, and there's 26 normal cars.
That's
Yeah.
insane.
There's 4, it's 30 because there's a slot for every character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree with Nick. Like a boss with every level doesn't make it feel like the bosses don't feel as special. They're
Right.
too common. And the whole regeneration thing, I have a feeling that, I noticed this when you're killing off cars and then new ones would spawn in without telling you.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's because they were at their poly limits, so they had to wait for a car to be dumped out
Oh, yeah.
before they could load in a new one, because it would have probably added too many particles to the PS1 and just crashed it.
Yeah. And you can tell this game is already at its limits many times. Like, there's certain characters where just using their special weapon, the whole game lags down to like 2 FPS. So,
Yeah. Once you hit 1, you're in trouble.
Yep.
That's when the PlayStation starts smoking.
Yeah, especially when you play like on hard mode and in deathmatch. Holy hell, is it just the game lags like crazy?
Yeah.
And you guys have broken the game many times, I'm sure, with the emulator using the Game Shark codes. Like it's very easy to crash this game.
If you don't overclock it, yeah, you can kill it very easily.
Just use Goggle Eyes as special.
Literally.
Oh,
cars at once, and it'll crush you.
Either Goggle Eyes or the Mervs. Just spawn the living shit out of Mervs as fast as you can.
And fire effects. Like anything that has a fire effect, that's what slows down the game really badly.
Yeah. The Goggle Eyes has like a flamethrower type effect, except it's poison theme, so it's you're spamming multiple transparency cards out there, and it just chugs the engine.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know. I think the bosses, for what they are okay. Like, they could have been stronger. Like, I don't know. I think Moonbuggy and Super Thumper are probably like the 2 best bosses in the game in terms of their armor, their special weapon. I don't know. I think they're the most fun to fight. But then, like, Crusher feels just like a regular construction vehicle to me. His design is unique, but everything else about him is very bland. It's not a fun fight. And then you got, I think Axel is kind of, I don't know. His design is cool. I will give it that. And I like that his special weapon actually sets people on fire. But other than that, he's pretty, like, regular. He feels kind of like how he did maybe in, like, TM2. Actually, I would argue TM2's Axel is stronger than Super Axel. But, it just kind of seems like, okay. And then RC Car, again, unique design. It looks interesting, but the fight is boring and bland because his special isn't that strong. And he's not scary. And then the Construction Brothers, you got Augur and Slam, which was kind of a cool concept, having 2 bosses at once for the first time in Twisted Metal. I thought that was nice, but again, it's like Augur, like, who gives a shit? It's just Augur. Like, he should not have come back.
Augur.
It's Super Augur. And then Slam is like the worst version of Slam. Like, he's terrible. And then you get Minion, who is by far the worst version of Minion. I hate his design. His special weapon misses every single time. He's super slow and sluggish. It's just like, why was he a thing? And then you get Sweet Tooth, who just is so overpowered that it's whiplash. It's just like, what happened here?
Yeah. It's funny. Like Minions Maze is one of my biggest frustrations, and they stuck a big slow tank in there,
Mm-hmm.
and he could not path very well in there. And I basically cheesed him by just knocking him off into the maze constantly until he died. He was
Yep.
actually the easiest of the bosses I had to deal with. Though I
Yeah.
will say that the construction twins were humorous to me because they kept hitting each other with their specials and tearing each other up.
Yeah, that'll happen. Or you can just freeze it. Like it's interesting that on the oil rig, there's a lot of areas you can just fall off and die. So if you don't know how to hyperspace, like it's a tough level. But the other thing that's really interesting from what I've found out over the years of playing it is Super Slam and Super Augur are like the only characters in that level that know how to hyperspace correctly. So if they fall off the level, thankfully they programmed it to where they don't insta die unless you freeze them. So I always found like cheesing them just like jumping across like a plane, waiting for them to jump after me and just freeze them, and they never make the jump, and they fall and die. So it's like it's the only way to have fun with that boss battle because otherwise it's just two regular like stumbling idiots just running around after you, and they have I don't remember. It's been so long since I played the vanilla version of TM4, but I want to say they have more armor than normal vehicles. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, all the bosses do.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So yeah,
But overall, yeah, they're pretty unremarkable. I would agree with that.
yeah,
But I think the level design that they're on, I think, doesn't help the boss fights. Because I think a big part of like other boss fights is the level that they're on is interesting and fun. It flows well. These levels, I don't feel that way about them for the most part. Like especially like Road Rage or Oil Rig, I just feel like they're really a pain to navigate.
really.
So when you're trying to find one enemy or two, for me it's like tricky to kind of get around. Minions Maze, another one that's just a slog to navigate. And I don't know if that's something you guys share or if it's just me, but that's been my biggest problem. Is like I'm trying to fight Super Thumper. Okay, where the fuck is he? How do I get to him? He's like a mile away. This winding spaghetti noodle thing of a level.
Yeah.
Yeah, no fun for me.
Yeah,
Like,
Minions Maze, I spent half the time looking for the people I was fighting.
Mhm.
And when it came down to the boss battle, it was even worse. Not to beat the dead horse, but that's one of the reasons why in Trapper's level we sectioned off the mini golf course to keep the action tight, because you get situations like this where you can endlessly run in circles, and so can the bosses, and it just kills the pacing of that particular level
yeah.
and kind of the tension you want to build with a boss battle.
Yeah, and that's probably like I don't know. TM4 to me, I really do like the maps. Like overall, I think that they were really creative. I just think they went too ambitious with some of them. They're just too big for their own good. And like Dave said, if you literally would have cut some of them in half, they would have been better levels. They still would have kept their creativity and originality and interesting elements, but the flow of combat would have been much better for
100%.
how many characters you're going against at a time. So like Drew, yeah, like I 100% agree with like it's hard to look at it from a perspective of a first time player or someone who doesn't play it as much as I have, because I've memorized the levels. I know where everything is. So for me, coming back to it, it's never bothered me of like trying to find where somebody is or like where to go. But if I was to, put myself in like Dave's shoes, for instance, who just played it for the first time, I can 100% now understand like, yeah, this level's way too massive. Like Road Rage, there's too many winding paths. There's too many areas where, especially if it's a 1v1, you versus Super Thumper, that can be a monotonous, boring battle because, yeah, there's a lot of times where you're not fighting because he can be on the complete opposite side of the level and it can take you up to 2 minutes to find him. And of course, Minion Maze, we all know that one is a slog. And if you can't find each other for a while, and especially if you don't know the layout of the maze, like, yeah, it's going to take you maybe upwards of 5 minutes to find Minion. Which again just kind of ruins the flow of the game and makes it boring for new players. So it is interesting they didn't think about that. Like I get the ambitiousness of wanting to make these grand levels because TM3 had the worst levels of all time, basically. So I understand they wanted to change that, but they just went way overboard with not being able to like if they could have 12 enemies in a level, I think it would be fine. But it's just not reality, sadly.
Well,
Right.
I think they were making those levels with the intention of putting 7 characters in a map, like for every round. I mean,
Yeah.
what was it? It was the beta, right? That you're actually able to play up to 7 characters, which is
Right. Yeah.
pretty wild to figure out. And I guess that kind of speaks a little bit of what their original intentions were with the levels, and
Yeah, they play
if
way better. Way
yeah,
better
because
with
it because
numbers.
it doesn't help that, like, again, like with the levels, like you don't even get the full 5 or 6 characters. It's like, okay, here's two, and then here's another one, or
Yeah.
here's three, and then here's two more. It's like, no, just give it. Like, it's one thing I will say that maybe 1 and 2 does kind of right, is it just gives you all the characters up front and just call it a day, and you just take them out. Like, that's
Yeah.
it. Maybe to each their own, but I think especially it just makes the game drag out longer than necessary.
Oh yeah, and that comes back to the having a boss in every level, because not only does having a
Yeah.
1v1 every map really showcase like these maps are too damn big for only a 1v1 match, but
Yeah,
it also just kind of drags out the tournament. Like literally, even coming back to this game as many times as I know Winters does, Kong does. Like every time you come back to this game, you know the layout of the level, you know how to play it.
yeah,
A tournament, I'd say on average is like 45 minutes minimum. For me at least, it's like an hour and 5 minutes usually every tournament. Even if I know what I'm doing, I haven't died once, like a flawless victory basically. It still takes over an hour to finish it, which is just mind. It's just mind boggling because at every other tournament and every Twisted Metal for me, except TM2 because I'm just not used to that one as well. But like Black, Small Brawl, Head On, any of those, I can get through a full tournament in under like 30 minutes. So it blows my mind with TM4. Like, wow, this game is long.
30
yeah,
minutes? Good
Usually,
Lord.
yeah.
Flying.
yeah,
Speed
yeah.
run.
Once you get used to how playing this game, you could speedrun it real quick.
Mm-hmm.
God, I suck. I'm
Yeah,
like an hour on every game, playing
Not
minimum.
no, not Black. Didn't you finish it in like 39 minutes or 40 minutes that one time we did a race on it?
Oh, I don't know if we timed it. I mean, yeah, I guess that might have been quick. I don't know. Like every time I've done a video for these games, like I do a full playthrough, I'm like hour and a half into these fucking things when I'm done.
Yeah, I guess that's the more you do
yeah,
it. Yeah, the more you do it, the more you get memorized of the areas and where to go and get the best pickups. And yeah, you can rush through these
Jeez.
games pretty fast.
Now there are some bangers to these levels. Like I don't want to make it seem like every level is bad. I think Construction Yard, Neon City, the
Yeah.
Carnival at the end. I think all those are fantastic levels, and I think they keep the pacing high. They're
Hmm.
easy to
Mhm.
navigate somewhat. I think a Neon City can be tricky for new players, like getting to that section with all the extra bonus weapons and stuff. That
Yeah.
took me a while to figure out with using the sky tram and stuff. But I like that element to it, that it's more creative to navigate, but it's not super clear. But there are some like incredible maps in this game. A lot of variety to the environments. Like they're
Yeah.
not all just like a drab, apocalypse like Black. There's a futuristic city, prehistoric, like
Hmm.
Amazon rainforest thing, a fucking bedroom, like an actual child's bedroom.
Yeah.
Like there's some cool levels for sure.
And I like that. I still, I've never been proven this, but I still to this day believe that Small Brawl came out of like the idea of Small Brawl came from the bedroom in TM4.
It had to have. Yeah, there's no other way.
Yeah, that it definitely came up in conversations that I was in where that
Hell
was
yeah.
mentioned several times.
I knew it.
I mean, Jaffe loves to take credit for Small Brawl as an idea, but I think it was 989 with the bedroom.
I was gonna say, how would that make
Yeah.
sense? He didn't work on TM4, so how could he take credit for Small Brawl?
Well, I
exactly.
think he played a game. I'm not sure if we brought this up on a different episode, but he played a game called Mr. Mosquito for the PS1, which was you played like a little mosquito flying around some like Japanese household, spying on the family and stuff.
Yeah.
Like there's a guy in the kitchen, or there's like a teenage girl in the bathroom, like taking a shower or something. And Jaffe really loved that part. He's like, oh, this is really
Bet he
cool.
did.
And like, yeah, it's such a cool idea to sort of explore this residential house as like a fly on the wall. What if there
Mhm.
was a Twisted Metal game where the scaling was the same? And so that's where he claims that idea came from for Small Brawl. But I mean, it was already done 2 years prior with Twisted Metal 4.
Yeah, it's probably a
Yeah.
combination of both. Like if he truly did pitch it at Sony, where he's just like, okay, I see all these small cars playing around in TM4, and then I'm also playing this other game, and those kind of two ideas kind of merge together. And it's
Yeah.
very possible he could have, you know, pitched that particular idea. I do know that the RC car idea did come out of Sony and they're just like, hey, here's what you're gonna make now, and then they kind of gave us that edict over at Incognito.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But I mean, also at the same time, like he was into God of War at that point, so I don't know how much of that was his or not.
Yeah,
Maybe sometime I'll talk to him and actually drill into that, and we'll see.
that'd be cool. I mean, he obviously remembered you because like that clip you sent us where, he was on that podcast. You didn't say anything in your donation, right? About you working on any games?
No, I just I just fired out a generic question to
Yeah.
him on that podcast saying, "Hey, finally caught your live stream. Do you know if there's like another Twisted Metal in the works?" And that's when he started going, "Oh, I know exactly who this is. It's the V8 guy and the small bro guy and the black guy,
Yeah. That the black guy. That's
the
really
black
cool
yes,
though.
the game,
The game.
Jeez.
But that's still cool though. Like he remembered your name and like knew those are the projects you worked on. So it kind of goes to show like either A, he's got a really good memory, which is probably true. Or B, like he remembers actually working with you or talking to you during those developments.
Yeah, we never worked together, but we definitely had conversations in passing several times.
Cool.
Or C, he's secretly watching my YouTube channel.
I mean, honestly, it could be. I mean, he's a YouTuber himself, so I'm sure he, you know, kind of floats around the YouTube space looking at other old games he's worked on and sees what's going on, and maybe especially during the television show coming out, he was probably
Yeah.
looking up a lot of Twisted Metal content. Who knows? He may have seen all of our content before. But
Maybe. I think I'm small potatoes to him. I would be very surprised if he actually saw any of my stuff. You guys are way bigger than me, so I think the chances are much more likely he's seen your stuff. But I mean, if he's cruising and looking at like all the other creators, that's pretty cool.
yeah, for sure, that'd be
Mhm.
really cool. And yeah, with TM4, the other thing that was a big change for me, and maybe this comes back to why I played TM3 more as a kid, is TM4 is a lot. At least I could be wrong in this, but it feels more fast paced than TM3, and I think in a good way. Like nowadays, I would say in a good way, but back when I was a kid, I think it was too much. It was just like, whoa, this is really quick. I don't know what I'm doing. Where TM3 was a lot more sluggish, and they had the bouncier physics. You could roll over and stuff. So coming to TM4 though, I'd say like they completely fixed the physics from TM3. Like there's still some issues, getting stuck to walls in certain areas, and like if you're on the edge of a cliff, it might like hook you into the edge, which is annoying. Which all could have been ironed out if they had more time to work on it, of course. But I'd say in general, I've said this before on this podcast. Like I do stand by that. Out of TM 1, 2, 3, and 4, 4 has my favorite physics out of those games, just in terms of its speed. I like that when you flip over, it just automatically pops you back up, which doesn't make sense, but in terms of gameplay, it feels a lot more natural. And just you have the control of the car, like when you're going off jumps, you can turn midair and stuff, which I always liked. I don't know. Yeah, I like the physics of this one, but I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean that kind of was a big deal though. Like when it actually runs at 30 FPS,
Yeah,
it
does
is
feel
actually
fast.
nice. That's why playing it through emulation is recommended because you can
Mhm.
actually make the game consistently run at 30 frames a second,
right.
and it feels much better that way, like a lot better.
Oh yeah, it's kind of funny to think about now. Like in their commercials, it's like blazing fast 30 FPS, but in reality, the game probably only hit 30 FPS like 1% of the time out of like a 2-hour play session because,
Yeah.
because so much shit would cause it to lag. So it's just like, yeah, I guess it can. It has the potential to be 30
Well,
FPS, but
That's the nature of marketing. You don't tell them that stuff. It's like the Sega
Yeah.
Genesis blast processing stuff.
right.
Oh,
Same thing. It's just
marketing
marketing.
knows they're just going to take the top number that
As
you
as
hit.
long as they're not completely
Yeah.
lying to you, then it's fine.
Yeah, the
That's
loopholes.
how it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, they find the little loopholes. They're not going to be like, oh, it reaches 30 FPS like sometimes. Most of the time, it'll probably be like 10, but
Sometimes 30 frames per second.
Just imagine
Most
they
of the
say
time.
that.
Sometimes doesn't crash.
Sometimes.
I
It's
really
just
like
like-
the
Yeah.
marketing.
just don't
for the
pick
game.
goggle eyes or certain characters in the game will be
Just
fine.
don't pick this character, please.
Yeah.
But that's always like pretty standard with those games back then. And honestly, like I mean, to Nick's point, like I played through it, it felt really good, but hanging on, off of bridges and getting stuck to the side of walls, I don't think I have seen a Twisted Metal or even Vigilante 8 that didn't do that. Like that seemed to plague all of those games
That's true.
at some point.
Yeah. And maybe that
I do
might be
think-
like, do you think that's a curse to the PlayStation 1 hardware at the time?
I don't think so. I think it's the way the physics are based around like four-wheeled vehicles for the most part, where it's trying to find points of contact, even if half of it's hanging off, a piece of collision. Because I've seen that happen in Black a couple of times.
Yeah. What were you gonna say, Drew?
Oh, I was gonna say, I was gonna echo off of what you said, just that the game in every measurable way is technically better than TM3.
Mm-hmm.
It runs better. They fixed all of the control problems that you had in TM3, where you couldn't control the car in the air. You'd lose control of your car just by driving in a straight line. Flipping over your car, which happens still quite a bit, you don't feel it as much because your car immediately teleports upright. So I think it shows that they understood what the limitations were with TM3, what the problems were.
Yeah.
And then they corrected them. And I think it made for a better game. It runs, for the most part, smooth. I've only played it on the PS3 for the most part, which it runs fairly stable there. And it feels like the most responsive of all the TM games for the PS1. That's even considering Small Brawl.
Mm-hmm.
It just feels good to play for a PS1 game.
Yeah. And I think one thing that's underrated, winners will know this, is TM4, correct me if I'm wrong, is it the only game in the series where you can rapidly switch between weapons and shoot them immediately as if you have rapid fire cheat enabled?
I think so.
That's a glitch though. That's not.
Oh,
like,
it's not meant to be like that.
No, no, it's a glitch. That's not supposed to be that.
Yeah, other than Twisted Metal 3's rapid rear fire, this one you can swap through weapons real quick and just spam the living hell out of them. So it just it makes for fun gameplay moments. Like for example, if Trash Man or Super Slam kind of get you, you can just use your shield and if you have a lot of weapons, just spam the living crap out of them and. Yeah. Nine times out of 10, either you blow him up or he just gets out of bounds because you just shoot up to the air of the map.
That's so true.
It's just so satisfying to do, even though it wasn't intentional.
That's awesome. They kept that glitch in, so it did not keep the cooldown timer in between weapons. So as long as you switched, you could fire immediately. But I'm glad they didn't take that out because that actually allows you to build up some interesting gameplay combos.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Some weird glitches to this game too. Like, what was it the rear fire glitch where you can as long as you have the energy meter, enough energy meter, you can spam the last weapon you had in your inventory by doing a rear fire, and so you'll see some speedruns in this game where people will be just shooting straight for getting lightning or certain environmentals within the level. And they would just keep rear firing, which is pretty crazy. I remember seeing a YouTube video of a guy, what was it? He completed the game in 15, 16 minutes.
Yeah.
Tops. I think he improved his time to 12 or something. It's insane how fast you can kind of blow through this game with that glitch.
Speaking of the environmentals, is this the only Twisted Metal game where you can pilot an environmental weapon? Because you have the crane on the first level, you can actually get inside of it and use it. Is that the only time that you control something other than your car?
Well, 2012, I think.
Yeah, 2012 did it with a nuke launcher for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than that, though, I don't think so.
That
I think it was the first
underrated.
to do that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree.
it's so weird. I the first level, my first go to if I'm really trying to beat this game fast is just go invisibility and use the crane, and it's nice that you have something to interact with on the level and use the level to your advantage, because if you take the crane and you pick up a car and you're able to drop those cars off at that I don't know how you call it, but that ramp that has those two heat flames kind of shooting out. It just seems like every time you pick them up, they
They'll
lose
just die in there.
they just die after a few times, which is pretty funny.
Drop them in the incinerator.
Yep.
Yeah, it's so you use invisibility to do that, because every time I go in the crane, they knock me out of it. And I'm just like, what is going on? This is useless.
Yeah, the usual strat for that is kind of go to one edge of the map, So that way the AI is already pathing to you and go invisible, and then just shoot like beeline it to the crane. It's a lot
Yep.
easier with the faster cars.
Interesting.
Yeah, for sure. I also laughed. I was watching Dave. I was watching your stream when you were playing that for the first time, and I didn't think about this, but so you defeated all the characters and you were fighting Crusher, and you tried to go use the crane, and you were going through the green little symbol in between the crane area that lets you like pilot it, and you're like, what the hell? Why is it not working? Is this a glitch? And I thought about it. I'm like, well, actually, if you were looking at the crane when you killed the last guy, the crane actually explodes. Like it shows it fall apart. But obviously, if you don't see that happen, there's no indicator that tells you the crane isn't working anymore. And they should have made that green, like floating symbol disappear because it is confusing to the player. I never thought about that. I was
a
like,
lack of feedback. I thought they just turned it off for the boss battle, which they did.
they do, yeah.
Yeah.
But there was no explanation as to why, and it's just like, why does this not work? Not that
Right.
the crane actually worked that well, anyways.
Right. It should have just
Yeah.
disappeared, had the green thing, vanished, and that tells the player, okay, this is no
I mean,
longer
to
active.
be fair, you don't see the crane anymore.
Well, yes.
I did.
But I
You're
get
probably
it.
trying to
I
put a
get
little
it.
bit more faith into the player, but yeah, they still should have.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, there was no exposition around it. Like I still saw the cab of the crane. I still saw the green icon.
Mhm.
If the upper part of the crane was gone, it wasn't in camera view, so I had no feedback as to why that didn't work anymore.
Yeah.
Mm.
And that's the
True.
only
I
part
didn't
that
know that
disappears.
happened.
Mhm.
I had no idea. This is the first time I'm hearing of this.
Really?
Yeah, I knew it didn't work like during the boss battle, but I didn't know it actually physically like stopped existing.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll explode. Yeah, next time you're playing it, if you can try to kill the last person where you have the crane in your view, you'll see a giant explosion happen above it.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of cool.
I have a
Yeah.
question for Goodrich. This game changed the control scheme a bit.
Yes.
It switched the square and the X button, so your square is now your brake and your X is your accelerator. Do you think that was in response to Vigilante 8?
I could not say for sure. Maybe. I mean, we found that they were looking at our game quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And if you play a certain game enough, you actually start to mimic their controls during development. So that's a strong possibility for
Yeah.
sure. I found the controls very frustrating in this. It felt very slow and sluggish to me until Nick popped in the chat and basically told me to use the handbrake. And once I started doing that,
Yes.
then the game felt very responsive because I would pass, a power up I wanted, and then without handbrake, I'm like slowly turning around like the Titanic trying to avoid an iceberg, and suddenly like the other car would just snatch it, and I was just like, what the hell? This is bullshit. And then once I started using the handbrake, it felt 10 times more responsive without it,
Yeah.
and it actually started to become a pretty good experience.
My only issue with the controls, I don't mind it that it switched to X for the gas and square being the handbrake. My only issue is I didn't like that they switched turbo to being X double tap and then triangle is reverse now. Because in TM3, triangle was turbo. And then I think square was go, X was handbrake. So
Right. And I think down was reverse, right?
yes. And I liked down being reverse more, and the only reason for that is because I feel like I don't know, my mind it doesn't make sense to like all of a sudden let go of everything, hit triangle to go backwards.
Mm-hmm.
And then especially if you're just trying to move forward, my mind sometimes will just double tap X, like just to go forward again. Like I'm trying to like, oh, get me out here. And you'll accidentally waste turbo. And that would happen all the time for me. And it's just like, I just would rather it be a separate button to do turbo than to have it like a double press.
Yeah, the triangle being reversed was very frustrating too. It should have just been down or down on the stick to go in reverse. It was much more intuitive that way.
Mm-hmm. See, I don't know why
I wonder why down
changed
was
it up.
changed. Yeah, it's very strange.
Maybe
was it to make the combination of buttons easier to do for like your shield and freeze and stuff?
Maybe because they knew like with hyperspace being up down down stuff like that. Maybe they didn't want people going backwards when they were trying to do the inputs for special abilities, possibly.
Yeah, you might be right. Yeah, you don't want people to accidentally input because if it's all up and downs, you're going to be doing that a lot.
But then the ironic thing is if you do up, it some reason activates your turbo.
Oh my god.
So I don't know. I don't know why that
Yeah.
happened.
I don't know why they made up the turbo button too.
Mm-mm.
This game does let you change the button configuration. I think
Yes.
it's a menu. It's kind of buried in there. So whenever I do play it, I do change it to like the quote unquote standard control scheme for Twisted Metal,
Oh.
and using like square as your accelerator, X is your tight turn,
Yeah.
down is reverse and stuff. It does make it a little weird because when you're going reverse, like oftentimes I will double tap down, so I'll end up turboing backwards. And I
Yeah.
do waste a lot of turbo that way. So maybe that's why I just knew, because the controls are very responsive.
Yeah.
So I think maybe like you won't even realize you've double tapped a button, and so maybe I that's the only thing I can think of. You don't want to waste turbo.
Interesting. Well, I think I know what I'm going to do for my last playthrough then. I'm going to change the
Change it
controls and
up,
see how
yeah.
it feels. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it might take some searching though. That menu is a bit tricky to find.
Yeah, it's terrible. Like the remapping of controller menu is really annoying to
Mm-hmm.
maneuver through.
Yeah. And well, oh wait, I wrote down this. This is the first and so far the only game in the series that gives player the opportunity to create their own custom vehicle. Yeah, we kind of talked about this a little bit, that it has create a car, which should not be overlooked, because I think that is a really cool, interesting like concept for a Twisted Metal game. Yes, it's very, it's not very robust. There's only a few options, but I remember as a kid, it was so fun. I created so many creative cars because it was just fun to go in, mess around with some options, give it one of 4 different special weapons. And the cool thing is the special weapons were unique to the vehicle. They weren't just, here's a carbon copy of Pizza Boy's special weapon you can choose from. You know what I mean? Like, they had 4 specific ones for the creative car. And then you had like 20 or whatever voice clips you could choose to really do stupid, cheesy ones, but they were funny. That way you could choose to, it would yell out when you use a special weapon. And it's like, the fact that this game was so rushed as it was, with its very, minimal amount of dev time, the fact that they were able to actually squeeze that feature in is kind of remarkable, if you ask me.
Yeah, on top of how many cars were already in the game.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, they didn't need it.
It's something Tonks touched on a lot too, is like how there's so many vehicles, including the creative cars, that all have unique specials versus 2012 that has, less vehicles but more redundant specials.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah, there's so much content in not 2012 and 2004. Like, there's how many levels is there? Like 16. Even though the other levels aren't really that great, it's like there's still like 16. There's still so much.
Yeah,
content.
the unlockable levels after you beat the game for the first time.
Yeah, that only
Are
come
those
up
levels
in
like just unfinished? Is that what they are? They're just wireframes?
No, they were supposed to be like Tron. So the idea was, yes, that's what Jim told me. The idea was from that, and that's why all the levels look the same, and they all look the same art style.
Yeah,
they probably crank those out fast as hell. You just make like a basic like polygon shape.
That was the point.
I got
you. That was the point. They were just supposed to be extra levels, so people like, because I asked Jim, I told him, I'm like, people shit on these levels all the time, like, and they're like, oh, they're so lazy, and he's like, because they were.
Yeah. I wonder if
they kind of were. Yeah.
I wonder if they were like scrapped ideas that they had like during development, and then they finished the levels, and you're like, you know what? Let's just fucking slap these motherfuckers on there. It's like, all right.
Maybe.
I mean, it's just some extra levels. Like, it's just, I think Tic Tac Toast is a fun little party level.
It's dumb as hell, but it's fun.
Yeah,
it's a stupid level, but it's definitely like a party level for sure.
Yeah,
there's a level where the floors like fall beneath you, right? Like the whole platform.
The whole level
like,
does, yeah.
Yeah.
They just keep breaking, and you have to keep teleporting back up. It's definitely like supposed to be like a party level of some kind.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm wondering if some of those levels were test levels that they just decided to carry on through.
That's what I'm thinking.
To be like,
that could have been it too.
I think you're right. Because they do have mechanics that you have from the like other game sections, like the acid pits that can be lit on fire.
Yep.
Like those are in there, so I could see those being test levels 100%.
There's a couple random ones in there too. Like they don't really make sense, so that it could be like on Citadel. There's just an area that has an acid pool in it, and it doesn't really make sense why it's there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also in the beta version, the acid pool wasn't there, so I don't know. Maybe they decided to put it in. I don't know. It's just in a really random spot that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It definitely sounds like a test level. For sure.
Yeah. I like Son of a Ditch. I think something I like about this game is, yeah, I know it's such a yeah, right. Son of a Ditch. Like it's like that one where it kind of caves in, and you have that red explodable floor that will like change. Like again, it will change kind of the level a little bit and how it plays. But what I like is, especially in this game specifically, I don't think I've noticed this in other games where you have like these interactable like objects, like the, I don't know how you call them. Not, I know some of them are like lifts in some of the levels, like where it's like you jump, like you hit them and you go up. But you have the ones that kind of like just straight up like they like these yellow squares, like just bounce you like
Yeah,
across the
send you
fucking map. It's like,
backwards.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
ridiculous. But like I remember as a kid, like fucking, I would just play like unlimited special Axel and just go against like Sweet Tooths and play
Yeah.
God mode, just fucking fling them all over the map while I'm going like 200 miles an hour from hitting those fucking yellow things.
Yeah, because with the physics of
Yeah, same with
TM4, like
Octagon as well.
if you have a big ass car like Goggle Eyes or I'm trying to think who else, Trash Man.
Trash Man, yeah.
If you if you run into him full force, like with turbo
Just
going
go
with
flying,
Axel, they go
dude.
flying like out of the game and blow up. It's
That's
so funny.
It's like my favorite thing to do in this game. It never gets old.
It
Fucking
doesn't.
never. It's which, speaking of which, is not to go off a tangent, but like I don't know if any of you guys notice this, especially you, Goodrich, but if you take Super Slam or Trash Man, and then if you have two of them that and they hit their special at the same time in front of each other, like they just start flinging across the fucking
Yeah.
map, and
Yeah.
and nine
Yeah.
times out of 10, you're probably just killing yourself because you get like flinged like out of bounds.
Hmm.
It's like it's just wild, like like how like some of the nuances to this game that if unless you play there a lot, you would never notice unless you actually like sought it out.
Yeah, I have seen that in a couple of your guys playthroughs on that type of stuff, and it's hilarious. They did not put in special casing. It's like if this happens, then this, then we should probably do this. They're just like, nope, this does this and this does that. So we're just gonna let them figure it out in game.
That was like
And
me
it's
and
not always
Kong
the
when we
best
did
resolution.
the co-op stream. We were both the construction brothers, and he was like, "Yo, what if I picked up this guy and then you drilled him at the same time? What's gonna happen?" And it was like a crazy three-way with like this innocent vehicle in between us, and we both connected, and we all went flying like out of the game. And I've
Oh, it's
never
so funny to
experienced
do the shit
that.
like that.
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why Adrian, our programmer on V8, if you grab somebody with Trash Man, they're basically invulnerable. Like you can't grab an opponent and then have Bobo grab them and then have,
Oh,
Lord Clyde shock them.
yeah,
It would spider out of control and eventually crash the game because there's too many unique things going on that's affecting everything.
right.
So in this, I think they just ran out of time and they're just like YOLO. It's just like let's just see what happens.
In reality though, like if what you're saying with like the development part of that, where if they would have made it where if let's say Trash Man, he's picking somebody up, if it makes that character invincible, now at that point they would remove the feature of right now in TM4, if you're Trash Man, you can pick somebody up and then constantly shoot them with other weapons. So that the basically that would make that wouldn't happen, right?
Yeah, that wouldn't happen because a G-man in Second Offense is immune to weapons while you're doing this to him, even your own weapons. He's only
Oh,
taking damage from the special. So
okay.
I wanted it to do it like they did it in Twisted Metal 4. Like when I saw that I could shoot them with power missiles while I was using Trash Man special,
Mm-hmm.
I was delighted. I was just like, yes, this is weapon synergy. Like this is what we shoot for in combat design.
Right.
But we turned it off in Vigilante 8, which to my disappointment. But I understand the problems it would have caused. Like it would have
Yeah.
created 100 more bugs we would have had to fix, and we just didn't have time for that.
Right. So that's kind of cool hearing that because that makes so much more sense as to why that stuff happens in TM4 because they probably had that same dilemma of like, well, we want to have it where not only is it Trash Man or Mr. Slam or whoever has that special where they can do extra damage by attacking the player at the same time of using your special, but on the other hand, if you are the victim, you're getting crushed by Crusher or Trash Man. You now have the ability to freeze them or shoot them back or whatever while you're being crushed. And I always found that really cool too. So it's like you're not just, oh, well, here's Mr. Slam. I better just get destroyed for 5 seconds. You know what I mean? So I always liked that in TM4. But the only thing that does suck is the explosion radius on some of the weapons. Like even if you shoot the weapon, if you're in that radius, it'll hurt you as well. Which is kind of a give or take, I guess. I don't know. Because I don't think that's the case in other games, right? That's just TM4 and maybe 3.
I think 2, you also can hurt yourself.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think any game with a remote bomb, it was there was a chance of you kind of getting some of the damage from
Yeah.
that.
For sure, Shadow and TM2, their special can hurt themselves.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think Shadow even in Twisted Metal Black too. I think, can't remember.
I don't think in
That I don't know.
Black Shadow
can't
can hurt
remember.
themselves. I don't remember though.
I think KongDoo just did a playthrough on Friday with
Yeah.
Shadow. Do you remember that, Kong?
I mean, I wasn't hitting myself.
I'm too good for that.
So I mean, I don't know. I don't try to do that. So that's like a testing thing.
It's a skill issue, Nick.
It is. I do to myself
I mean,
too
in
often.
TM2 it happens to me without me even trying because it travels so slowly. So I just didn't know if in TM Black, like whether or not you're trying it just happens. But
Yeah, I don't
I'm
know.
assuming you would have noticed it if it did.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think it would probably. I'm assuming it would probably be less damage. I'm assuming than you would do to an enemy, so it wouldn't be like too noticeable.
Right. That would make sense too.
Yeah, because like with Twisted Metal 4, because they did add some weapons that we never really see in the other games, which always stood out to me with this game specifically. Like you have Merv, you have whatchamacallit, Autolob. Yeah,
Autolob's kind of just satellite from Black though.
It's broken as fuck
Kind
though.
of the same thing.
It kind of is, but I feel like it's like a more fun version of satellite in a way because like
it's way more satisfying for sure.
Yeah, it's a way more satisfying weapon where like if like an opponent is in the air and like it just kind of like homes on them just a little bit, and if you're able to get all those motors to hit at the same time, they just go fucking flying. But
yeah,
I mean,
or when it glitches.
Yeah,
it just stays in the air and doesn't move. Yeah.
And sometimes like you might accidentally hit yourself with it, which could be it can backfire with you if you're not being careful. But I mean, even then, like I mean, Calypso has a fucking like nuclear missile strapped on his back, and it's just like, oh well, I'm gonna go ahead and start blasting and just blow myself up sometimes just for the fuck of it. It's just, like the different like type of weapons that you can hit yourself with is pretty insane.
It is. Proximity mines were a cool addition too. I like those, even though
I love
they are broken as hell, but they are cool.
They're my favorite. Just what was it? The three mine kind of trick. Just put 3 mines spawning off a teleporter and just launch Sweet Tooth up in the air. It's always
funny.
A satisfying feeling.
It's really funny because like Dave called it out. I think it might have been the last episode in TM3 when we were talking about like teleporters. I think Dave, he kind of predicted the future because he didn't play TM4 at that point. And he was saying, well, I feel like you could cheese the enemies because they're always going to follow the path of the player by going through the teleporter. And in TM3, they didn't really have a cheese tactic to where if you went through the teleporter, like, you could wait there and attack them, which I have done. But in TM4, you can straight up cheese that where you have somebody following you, go through a teleporter, place 3 mines, and then just stand back and wait, and they'll go through and they fly out of the game and die.
Yeah, it's just like it's crazy, and it's not even, and even if it wasn't the mines, again, something that stands out with Twisted Metal 4. Definitely correct me if I'm wrong, but this game also has freeze remotes too. So even if you didn't have the mines, just put a freeze remote, where you would spawn off the teleporter and just start going at it and spamming like crazy.
Yeah, I will add to the proximity mine thing. I love what they did there, in that they react to each other and they can create a chain reaction. So you can stack them for a lot of damage and a lot of force in a local area, or you can actually drop them in a chain and have them all detonate off of each other, and then you can also shoot them. So it allows you to create some interesting combat tactics that you normally couldn't do with other weapons, which I thought was really cool.
Right. And I like that in your stream too. You brought up with the freeze mine, you were wondering, you were like, wait, what's the point of this? Like, I have a freeze already. And then you brought up the point, oh, wait, maybe it's for you can freeze multiple opponents at one time. And I think this kind of comes back to the ambition thing with like the level design. I really do think at the beginning of production they were going for every level we're gonna have 7 enemies or 8 enemies or whatever, like the most you can do. And that's where, yes, I think a freeze mine would make sense. Because if you have 6, 7, 8 people in one spot, being able to freeze all of them in one go, or at least 3 or 4 of them at one time, that's going to lead to some interesting combat situations. But I feel like in the actual game experience, when you're only going against like 4, maybe 5 max opponents, there never really is a real reason where you have to use a freeze mine, except for if you just are lazy and you just want to cheese somebody like through a teleporter, or if you don't have enough energy at the moment to use a freeze, like there you go, you can use a freeze mine, I guess, on one person. But out of all the years I've played TM4, I don't remember a specific situation where strategically I went out of my way to use a freeze mine to freeze multiple people at once.
Really?
Yeah.
On immortal
That's
difficulty.
weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the complete opposite of that.
If you play on the hardest difficulty, you need to use that weapon.
Yeah,
that is
so
true, and I never
yeah.
played on Immortal back in the day. Like that was just recently when I started getting into that.
Yeah, even not immortal, but even if like you were gonna do like a deathmatch run, which
Mhm.
I used to do that a lot because I was never fond of not being able to set a difficulty for the tournament. But
Yeah.
again, I digress. But the thing is, like, yeah, on the hard difficulty when the AI is way more aggressive, my go-to strategy is get those freeze mines if I'm not playing orbital,
Mhm.
and get into like small areas where you can kind of get everybody lumped up into it, and just use the freeze mine and then spam do spam remote bombs while using shield.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, it's especially in construction yard. Like you have that one little area where if you go up the ramp, you have like that one little like room
Mhm.
that everybody like you can fit like a lot of AI that has like a remote.
Yeah.
It's like stuff like that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
cool.
you definitely want like those type of crowd control mechanics are good in like choke points or small areas. It feels like based on the crane in the first level, like they wanted to have more environmentals in there, which would have made freeze like group freezes much better. Like if you could have froze someone in an area and then go hit a button and like have, I don't know, a meteorite come from outer space and crush them. Like you want to group them all in one area, and it
Yeah.
because in this game I only saw one environmental you could actually interact with. Are there more? Do you guys know?
There's
Oh.
lightning on a bunch of levels. There's a
Yeah,
lamp
Okay.
on bedroom, right? That does something.
Oh, did I miss the lamp?
Well, if
I
you
only
destroy the
noticed
Oh,
the
lamp,
So
there's
crane.
a lightning in
that just
there.
gives you. That
yeah,
gives you
oh, I got you. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm meaning like triggered environmental, not power up environmental, like the crane itself.
Yeah. I don't
I think
think
that's the only
there
one.
is, from what I remember.
On
So that
Neon
yeah.
Unless
City,
you
there's a
count the
sky
ship.
tram.
Yeah, unless you count the ship in Neon City that you can fly with, but that doesn't hurt
Yeah,
anybody though.
Yeah.
I mean, there is another. I guess I don't know if you would consider it environmental, but in Neon City, you have that train that kind of goes from bottom floor to top floor of the map.
Oh
That
yeah,
like can
that
like
does
run you
hurt,
Yeah,
but
over.
it's more random though. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean you can't
yeah,
freeze someone in front of the train though. It hurts them.
That is
I
true.
usually get hit by that train every time I play. It's for some
The
reason I cannot avoid it.
AI seems to get hit by it quite often too.
Yeah, it feels like they had bigger plans for that group freeze with possible environmentals, and they just ran out of time because
Yeah.
it seems odd they only would have one of those with being the crane, and
Right.
then almost no other level. Like it doesn't exist. So that definitely feels like something they ended up cutting.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I think the only other scenario, which obviously this was cut, but maybe was it an oil rig? I mean, it's probably a stretch, but if you did free somebody and destroyed the whatchamacallit, the bridge, I mean,
Oh yeah, I do it all the
technically,
time with Pedro's mod.
yeah. Yeah, it's cool that like you can do it in Pedro's mod, but yeah, it just sucks. Like there could have been a possibility in the original game where
Yeah.
there could have been a way where you could free somebody, destroy a bridge, and there you go. Like you can kill like a couple of enemies right there and then.
Right. So Dave, in case you're wondering what we're talking about, so like in the original beta of TM4, in the oil rig, you could destroy the actual oil rig, like the giant drill thing. You could blow that up, And then what it would do is it would cause a chain reaction to knock down the bridge that connects. I don't know how to explain this, but there's that section where it's like that you hit the green thing and it launches you up into this little room up in the sky. And then there's a bridge that goes down to this other section, and basically that whole bridge would fall away. And then the AI would like
sky bridge.
Yeah, and then the AI would like drive to their death if they like tried to go over that bridge. So it's cool. Like it's really fun, and it's like you were saying, Winners, what I do in Pedro's mod is I literally will lure, like I'll blow up the oil rig, and then I'll fly up there and I'll lure the AI to come up there with me onto the bridge. I'll use a freeze mine, and then I just wait, and then it blows up in like 3, 4. You can sometimes get like a pentakill. Like you can kill almost every other.
Because there is I never counted, but there is a delay from when you destroy that drill and from when that bridge falls apart.
Yeah, it's like 9 seconds or something. It's around there.
9 seconds, shit.
Yeah, but it's just cool. It's like that is an interesting thing that I wish could have been left in the main game, but I understand why it's too easy. Like if you figure out how to do it, it's just like, well, oil rig's done. Like you've completed the game.
Yeah.
But I think to go back to what Goodrich was talking about, how they might have planned for other environmentals, I think that might be true. Because if you read the little like limericks, whatever they put before each level, a lot of them reference, what could potentially have been an environmental.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Construction Yard has, Master the Crane. Neon City says to catch a ride from the secret train or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Road Rage says getting off the beaten path will like lead you to your victory. Maybe there could have been something hidden off to the side.
That one's talking about the there's a hidden wall in Road Rage where if you destroy it, there's like a whole path of like secret weapons and stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Which that took me forever to find. Like I always noticed there's like a window there behind the wall, and I'm like, oh, surely that's just like that's just scenery.
Yeah.
No, I guess you can actually get behind there. The bedroom does reference the lamp. If you break it, you can get the lightning thing. But there could have been something more to it at one point.
Right.
Amazonia says, find your way to the top of the ring and the gods will grant you everything, which I think means there's just like a full health pickup up there or something. And like maybe some weapons.
There's a couple other
lightning
pickups there too.
Yeah, there could have been like an environmental up there that would do something special. Oil Rig says, beneath the drill is a crude black treasure, but above are riches beyond measure.
Yeah.
Could have been something there. Who knows? The maze says to get to the top and call a mechanic, whatever the fuck that means. And then Carnival says you'll want to be grounded when you ride the roller coaster, which I know it has a roller coaster that goes around the track, but maybe there could have been some more interactive element to that. So it feels to me like some of these are talking about something that could have been more on these levels.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey man, fuck that roller coaster.
Construction Yard is the only time there's like a real, true environmental, interactable object.
What they could have done for the bedroom is like, let's say you destroy the lamp, and there's like a drone in there, or like a little helicopter or something, and you can control that and drive around the room. Like you remember those like old school, what was it, Havoc? I can't remember the name of the brand, but there was little helicopters that were like $30.
Oh, yeah.
I used to get them like every year because I'd break them in like a week. But I used to get them like every year for my birthday. And like,
I love those fucking things, man. They're awesome.
They were so fun. There's little helicopters that would fly around the room. Like, I know David Jaffe always wanted helicopters in his games, and they usually sucked ass. But I feel like they could have done it as, instead of a character being a helicopter, just this one environmental that would last like 15 seconds or something. You could fly it around and like turret people or something. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean,
wait. So Drew, you were saying what was the riddle for the oil rig below was black?
So the oil rig says, beneath the drill is a crude and black treasure, but above are riches beyond measure.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's an oil rig, so it's just talking about oil, I think.
Yeah,
no, they're referencing Twisted Metal Black, like they knew
before it happened.
Before it happened, they created Twisted Metal Black, a crude black treasure.
I don't see a tinfoil hat on your avatar there, right?
This game is game breaking.
Holy shit!
I mean, it's that teleport that you have to like get into that spawns you on the top of that oil drill, and it gives you the lightning and all that. But Jesus Christ, I'm loving that joke.
It would be cool on an oil rig if that helicopter that drops off the health pickup, which by the way is like super OP, you can just like chill on that helipad.
Mm-hmm.
But if the helicopter was in some way interactable, like you have
It is.
some sort
You
of
can destroy
pickup.
it.
It is. You can
Well,
blow
you
it
can
up.
destroy, but if you can like tell it to like I don't know, shoot enemy players or something.
Oh, that would have
Yeah.
been
'Cause
cool.
You can blow it up, and it just stops bringing health, and it drops
Yeah.
weapons.
Yeah, why would you do
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, that would have been a great
So the AI
environmental.
stops picking health up.
Like turn it
Yeah.
into an attack helicopter if you get like a power up for it. Like that would have been
Right.
cool.
Get a 7-kill
Yeah.
streak and you get an attack helicopter.
Yeah, they
So,
could have like
seriously.
Chopper gunner.
reused. They could have reused like in Twisted Metal 3 in Tokyo. You had that little satellite. Like it'd be cool to be
Mhm.
able to shoot a fucking laser. I mean, I know it's stupid, but like shoot like a laser or missiles or some whatever
Yeah.
from the helicopter, depending on like where it's at. So that way you can kind of strategize that a little bit.
Just
That's a
treat
good
it like
point.
the
TF3 did have some environmentals that were more creative. I do feel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it was a little better.
yeah. Like they
Yeah,
could have
the
treated it like
environmentals,
Small
yeah.
Brawl with the Gridiron Gore, when you have like the little button for the what do you call him, the lawnmower guy. So it's like whoever he's more near, you hit the button and he'll automatically go and run him over. Just have like that with the helicopter. You see it
Oh,
flying
yeah.
around the map, and then whenever it's near somebody, just hit the
Yeah.
button and then it would attack them or whatever.
Yeah, that's why I made all the environmentals like the power up a generic, so it could trigger in completely different things every level,
Yeah.
as opposed to like 4, which just had like a lightning bolt and it was always lightning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because that gets old.
Twisted Metal 4 did Warhawk first.
Yeah.
First helicopter.
First helicopter, baby. I mean, technically it
I
is,
did-
right?
Yeah.
The first helicopter.
In a TM game.
I think
I
so.
believe so. Yeah.
Yes, take that, TM2 elitists. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, I mean, it's still cool to think about what opportunities they had available for
What could've
environmental
been.
stuff. But yeah, what
I
could have
really,
been.
I really felt like there was some genuine passion in this game.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, I can't help but always think about the what ifs where if they had a little bit more time or a little bit more polishing.
Right.
I'm pretty sure they had some like again like Jim like he left it was a commented code out to destroy parts of a level, but I imagine give him a couple more months. What else can he do?
for real.
Yeah, I don't think it would have taken that much more time to implement all the stuff they wanted to. Like, I don't think it would even take like another full year to really,
No.
polish and flesh out the game.
Right. And one
Like,
thing
if
You
they
just
just
gave them
released
2 more
in the
months.
following
That's all
summer,
they needed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And one big thing we haven't talked about is this was like the first Twisted Metal to pretty much have an all new cast of characters at the beginning, except for
Yeah.
2 for some reason that were like redos. But yeah, like Orbital, Pizza Boy, Meter Maid, Trash Man, Mr. Zombie, Drake Queen, Joneses, Calypso's a playable character now, Microblast, Quattro, Goggle Eyes. Like, I gotta hand him a lot of like respect for not only creating all these new characters, like some of them obviously are rip-offs of old characters, like Meter Maid is pretty much Outlaw, but you got to give him respect in that sense of taking that leap of faith and trying to do something different, even if obviously a lot of
Definitely.
hardcore fans are gonna be like, what the fuck, where's Axel, where's this guy, blah blah blah, and it's like I could understand, I could see that, I could see someone booting it
Axel's in
up,
the game, though.
right, but I could see someone booting it up for the first time, going through the character list and being like, where the fuck's my favorite character? There's no Spectre here, I'm out of here. Like,
Yeah,
I can see that.
beat the game one fucking time, and like that's the thing I do appreciate that game is that you do get a bunch of new characters, at least most of them initially, but like you beat the game and you still have like some of the old characters that you can come back to and play as.
Right, and their boss
so
battles now.
yeah, like it gives you options,
Mm-hmm. And you can
And
play
I
as
think-
every single one of them.
Yeah, and I think part of it too that kind of helps this game is that since they're able to create new characters, I think it allowed them a little bit more of a creative freedom to explore a little bit and
Yeah.
for like some of the backstories and the cinematics for like the endings and whatnot, which I gotta be honest, like
There's a couple of funny ones in this game.
the
though.
endings, some of these
Actually,
endings are fucking meme tier, like the Joneses, for example.
Yeah.
yeah, just driving a family off a cliff. Yeah.
Yeah,
he
it's
actually
just,
kills a
and Meter
family.
Maid are the two that really stood out to me as like good. The other ones are bad, but in a great way,
Yeah.
meme-worthy bad.
I think Orbitals is pretty good in terms of like seriousness. Like, it's actually kind of sad.
Yeah, Orbital is definitely well executed for sure.
Yeah.
Which TM4 standards, which is not very.
I just-
Yeah, not that great.
I just find it funny. Like Captain Grim is like first man to like was it I can't even remember what the fuck he says, but like
It's
fucking
the soul of the
Sweet Tooth,
first
There's the
one
parrot.
dead.
it's
It's a
some
parrot.
first one dead.
Parrot's
Fucking
not
whatever,
good.
the fucking parrot, and like Sweet Tooth brings out the fucking katana, and then Captain Grim fucking whipping out like a fucking cutlass, and like they have like they have that sword fight, and it has like that quick like zoom into their fucking face. It's like
Well, the camera work was fantastic on
It's
that.
so good.
yeah, it's like what the, it's like what the fuck, or like Calypso Sweet Tooth fighting over the ring, and you see Calypso's thick juicy bod. Catch
Oh
my
yeah,
drift?
that's right. That's from that one. Yep.
Probably might as well as a sticker, I think.
My boy's caked up.
Oh yeah, man, you doing squats.
So in Twisted Metal, there's only 3 playable characters that have appeared in every game. It's Grim, Warthog, and Sweet Tooth.
Yep.
And I think you would have a much longer list for that if this game didn't completely fuck that up.
Yeah, that's true.
It's
989 really did give everybody the middle finger.
I don't mind it though. The risk is
Yeah.
fine.
I agree. We got
Like,
Pizza Boy, so
because
Hell
you
yeah,
have
dude.
problems like head on where it's like you play that game and it's like I've already played as all these characters before. Like it's like I feels like I've already played the game when I turn it on again. Like I actually like new stuff happening. I mean, when we get to head on, we'll talk about that more, obviously. But that game just like way too much of the same. Just like I've already played this before. I've already played these levels before. I've already done it.
all
Yeah.
the same
I-
characters for the most part.
It's like I appreciate like the at least trying.
yeah, exactly.
100%.
Well,
I think
it
it happens
definitely
the
makes
exact
the game
opposite
stand
of this
out.
game in terms of like this game had all but 2 new drivers, and then Head On had all but returning drivers except for 2.
Yep.
I think,
Yeah.
right? There's an ATV and Cousin Eddie. I
Yeah,
think were the only 2.
Cousin Eddie. Unless you want to count Darktooth as a new character, but no, I don't.
He's been there before.
Or Tower Tooth as well. But...
Yeah, Tower
Right,
2.
Tower
He's
Two.
new.
Yes.
Garbage, but he's new.
Garbage.
I don't think the stories or the characters in TM. I mean, it's cool that they're new, but none of them are like really that good.
They're
I
not
mean,
like
Pizza Boy's a meme.
yeah.
You know, like they're great. Like I want them around. They're fun to think about and stuff. But like as a character in a vacuum on their own, they're all not great.
I
yeah.
mean, Drag Queen's great.
What about like Mr. Zombie though? He was the first and only
Best character.
actual
only one.
real life character, like personality, superstar personality. They
Yeah.
actually
They
brought in
nailed it.
Twisted Metal, and they nailed it.
Yeah, I mean, you hear his fucking music in the game, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah, and we didn't even talk about
Writes
the soundtrack
songs,
is
he writes
banging.
the song.
Dude, I think I don't know about you, but this is to me this game has like probably the best fucking soundtrack in
It's
my
great.
mind.
I
Like,
think so. Yeah.
like even when I'm like driving and I'm like, I'm not playing Twisted Metal, but fuck yeah, I'm gonna like bang to the song or whatever. Like South Central,
Mm-hmm.
like it's fucking, like that fucking drum solo.
Wait, where do you live?
What?
South Central? What?
That's the song name in the
That's-
game by
yeah, that's-
1
I
minute
was just
silence.
like, are you in LA?
no, South Central.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't remember the name of the band, but
1 minute silence.
Even
1 minute
the
silence.
music is
Or-
pretty banging. I think
Mhm.
compared to some of the other games.
It's the only
Black
TM
to me
game
is
to
the
have a
best one.
full copyrighted music. Like it's all
Yeah.
third party.
Oh
I
yeah.
was about to say the soundtrack's so good we can't stream it.
Nope.
That's the
And that's
unfortunate
the
part.
that's the main reason why 3 and 4 haven't been converted as like PS classics or whatever, is because they can't get the rights or whatever to the music, which sucks.
Yeah, they'd have to renew
Really?
the licenses again.
I did
yeah.
not know that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Which at that point, I don't know. Just put some like
Generic.
royalty-free
It
stuff in
definitely
there. Who
is.
cares?
Definitely
Mhm.
expired.
I mean, Pedro was able to do it.
Yeah, for real. He switched out the music. He was able to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But like,
Features Rob Zombie, Cirrus,
Yep.
1 Minute Silence, Scold, Ghoul Spoon, and Cypress Hill are the bands
Yeah.
featured
Yeah.
in this game.
Yeah.
Which is mostly
It
what
was-
new metal,
Pretty much.
which was the
Um,
rockin' thing at the time, in the late
Yeah.
90s.
garbage metal was a not thrash, but
Garbage
can't
metal.
remember.
What?
I don't know.
You insulting me?
I don't remember the fucking name. Grunge? Is
Grunge?
that what it's called?
No, grunge is like
No,
Nickelback.
No.
Like
Okay.
Creed
I don't know.
Like Soundgarden, Nirvana type of stuff.
I don't-
No,
I
This
don't know,
is
it's
this is
like-
new metal.
It's like, I don't know. Every time I start up the game, like I always love fucking like jamming to Dragula in the in Construction Yard and just fucking
I
destroying
haven't heard the
shit.
soundtrack in this game in so long.
Same.
Wait, Cypress Hill is in the soundtrack?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
Road
Road
Rage.
Play on Road Rage, yeah. Lightning
Yeah.
Strikes.
Lightning Strike. It's such a good song too.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty chill. Fits the
Did I
fits
ever
the
tell you
level
guys
pretty
I had dinner with them one night and didn't know it?
What?
Cypress Hill.
What
Yeah.
the
How'd you
fuck?
go on a date with them and you didn't even know?
No. I got to tell the story. It hopefully
Oh,
makes
go-
it the podcast. So I was
Oh,
dating
yeah.
this girl who was like one of the VPs at God, what was it? MGN Music. That's what it
Oh.
was. We were dating, and she always wanted to go to like different concerts and everything. So we went. We were gonna go see like a Cypress Hill at House of Blues in on Sunset in LA. And we're looking for restaurants, and we go to the sushi restaurant right across the street, and we're sitting. There's like no seats left, and we had to sit at the bar, and we're ordering food and everything, and these guys come in just dressed, you know, ridiculously, and I'm just like, wow, these guys are tryhards. Like they got like the cool sunglasses and like the white puffy jackets and the gold chains and everything, and they sit next to us, and like I'm like chatting to my girl, the girl that I'm dating at the time, and we're having a good time and everything, and I hear these guys chatting next to me, and they keep asking me like, "Hey, can you pass the soy sauce? Hey, can you pass the chopsticks and all this
Oh,
stuff?" I'm
wow.
like, "Okay, whatever, dude." And I just keep handing it to them because I had no idea what Cypress Hill looked like.
Right.
And occasionally, like we're like, "Okay, we got to leave. We got to go to the concert." We walk across the street to House of Blues, and the show starts, and there's the openers, and then Cypress Hill comes out, and it was the guy sitting next to me the entire time during our dinner, like chatting with us and like asking for like the condiments the entire time at dinner. I'm just like, holy crap, it's Cypress Hill. I had no idea. We just ate dinner with them that night.
That's so cool. Hell yeah. You met Garbage and now you met Cypress Hill. That's sick.
Oh, yeah, Garbage was my all-time favorite, and then you cannot replace Garbage in my worldview at this point.
Understandable for sure. Yeah, I've heard Cypress Hill are good guys. They're really nice dudes.
Yeah, it was the smokiest concert I've ever been to in my life, and that was saying something.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah. But yeah, I guess just like with the other games in the series, I've wrote down some fun facts that I looked up. Most of them are just from the wiki. But some of these I guess I didn't even know. One of them is this is the first game where the first level presumably does not take place in Los Angeles. It does say in quotes, unless Construction Yard does not take place there, at least that is, because it's not proven. I guess I don't think they've ever say exactly where Construction Yard is, but I didn't realize that. Like out of the first 3 games, this is the first one that did not take place in Los Angeles for the first level.
Oh,
Yeah, that's a good point.
I
yeah.
was like, what?
Never thought of that.
Yeah, never thought about that. So TM4 did a lot of firsts, I guess, for the series. This is also, we talked about this last time, but this is the second game in the series that also was the last to feature character bios with voice acting, which the first is TM3. And I kind of wish they'd bring that back. I missed that. I liked having the jump scares of voice acting when you look at the bios. This is the 4th and last game in the series to feature the password screen. So after this, Black came out. Even Small World didn't have a password screen anymore. It was all pretty much cheat codes in game with button inputs. So that was kind of interesting.
End of an era, yeah.
Yeah, literally. And then the crazy thing too is I literally learned this in Dave's stream the other day. I didn't even know that TM4 had level codes. I thought since they added the save feature, like because you could save after each game, just like you can in every game afterward, that there was no longer level codes. But I guess they had both.
Yeah,
Yes, Sweet Pino for the win. That dude knows his TM4.
He does.
Damn.
He's in my chat every time, and he's like guiding me, and I'm just like, I need to make you a mod. You know all the secrets.
Oh, Pepino?
Yeah, they're awesome.
Oh hell yeah, I love Sweet Pepino. He's awesome.
Yeah, that was cool. That was cool finding that out. I'm like, what? All this time I used to just restart the goddamn game. I didn't really get to level codes. So that was cool. This is another thing I did not realize until I really thought about it, but it's the only Twisted Metal in the entire series that does not feature Outlaw in any capacity.
That's what I'm saying. It fucked up the entire continuity, man.
Yeah, it did.
No.
The universe reboot.
Yep. I wish Meteor Maid came back though, because I do like her. She's cool.
I mean,
But
just call him outlaw. You know,
you
I
literally
don't know.
could. I mean, it's the same thing. It's a cop taser weapon. They do the same special in Small Brawl where you can drain energy from the enemy and give yourself health. So I mean, Meteor Maid is pretty much just outlaw, just in a different universe, I guess.
I've done a handful of the, every version of blank in Twisted Metal, and
Mhm.
so many of them, I'm doing 1, 2, 3, black, small brawl head. Like I just get 4 every time, and I get the comment, "Well, what about Twisted Metal 4?" Sorry, they weren't in Twisted Metal 4 because there was no one in Twisted Metal 4.
Yeah, unless they were coming. Unless they were one of the super bosses or whatever.
There was some weird boss or whatever.
Imagine super
yeah.
outlaw.
So jeez,
That would have been crazy. I wonder how they would have done that with like their special
just
weapon.
a big cop car, just 2 times scale.
Just a giant cop car. A SWAT car would have been pretty cool. Kind of like in black, but just better. I'm crazy. This is, let's see. This is also the only game to feature futuristic style vehicles like Quattro and Moon Buggy. Because, Quattro is the only car, I think, in all of Twisted Metal that doesn't have wheels. It flies. And then,
I guess.
except Talon, yeah. And then Moon Buggy, obviously, is just a goddamn alien. I mean,
Fucking Caterpillar, dude.
yeah, Caterpillar. I've always said, like, I think Kong said the same thing in one of his videos. Like, Moon Buggy, he I think would have fit better in like V8 Second Offense than it does in Twisted Metal. But it's kind of interesting seeing like that futuristic kind of car.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. I like the design of it. I think it's it's super unique. It's actually scary. Like when like as a kid, I remember having nightmares of Moon Buggy because like when you're playing Neon City, it's a super badass futuristic level with a kicking ass soundtrack. You kill all the people, and then this giant monstrosity centipede looking card comes out of nowhere, and it's throwing sparklers
So
that
stupid.
throw
What a
you into the
dumb
sky.
car.
Yeah, they're called quasars.
You're like, what is it? Quasars?
Quasars.
Quasars.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And their
quasars.
special is basically just a copy of Mr. Zombie, Orbital, and Sweet Tooth, right? Where it's just a ball of electricity that sucks you into it.
Yeah. It does pretty good damage too, compared to the rest of the specials in the game.
Yeah, and they can fuck you up if you're not careful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that was probably my main
Definitely.
complaint, like other than the bosses being on every level, my other main complaint with TM4 would be that the special weapons don't feel like they do enough damage.
Yeah, and I could tell that they're running out of time on this particular title because they did the same thing we did on Small Brawl, where what is it? Zombies, Sweet Tooths, and Orbitals are pretty much the same special with just different visuals.
Yep. Yeah, different.
Well, I
like-
think Sweet Tooth is a combination of the 3. It is Orbital, Mr. Zombie, and Moonbuggy all
Yep.
put together.
How is it different? It sucks them in and it has the little tendrils there, and if you stay in it long enough, it just blows up and causes extra damage.
I think one of them
Well,
freezes
Sweet
you,
Tooth-
one of them
Sweet
sets
Tooth
you on
shoots-
fire.
Yeah, one sets you on fire, one shoots.
Oh, they're
you
different
with
effects for each one.
Yeah,
the
the
red
I
red
didn't
one's a
even realize
flamethrower.
that.
Yep.
It's on a timer, yeah. That's why you die so fast, because it holds you in place, shoots missiles, lights you on fire, then the blue one blows up, then the
Yep.
green one blows up, then the red one blows up.
Well, thank God they let you actually use combos in the middle of that, because I kept shielding like right in the middle of that special, and I think that saved me a couple of times.
That's all
Do
you can do.
hyperspace,
Yeah.
does it save you from it or no?
You have to get
Sometimes,
lucky.
but yeah, it can
Sometimes.
hyperspace you literally right next to it anyway, and you're like, well, that was a waste of my energy.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and speaking of which, this is the only game I think that features hyperspace.
Yep.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Up, down, down for the win.
I think
It
it's
is
a cool
super helpful.
concept, but it's kind of broken.
Yeah, I wonder. Well, it's kind of crazy to think about because what was it? Orbitals originally had that special that would like randomly teleport you to, some
Yeah.
part of the level, and I guess they just said screw that and they integrated it to like a button combo.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's because of the AI falling outside the map.
I
It has
definitely
to be.
think it had to do with that, or my theory is with how easy it is to get stuck on walls. There's been times where like I've gotten stuck in a wall and I couldn't even jump out of it, and so I had to hyperspace to get out of it. I always assumed it was like a bug fix. I know Jim I think I asked him that question during your stream, Kong, and I know Jim answered it saying it wasn't originally implemented as like a bug fix, but I don't know. It's like to me, it just screams like it's an added feature for if a player gets stuck, they don't have to restart the whole level. They can just hyperspace. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's convenient nonetheless.
Yeah.
You know, whether
It
it's
is.
intended, it's still awesome.
Yeah, because even if you're stuck, if you were like in outside sections of the level, you can at least use hyperspace to kind of get to like the main area of the level. That way you can kind of like, oh, the character's over there, and just do up, up, down, down.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
I
It's
could be
odd for this
wrong.
type of game, but it works really well. I mean, I have a feeling it's a little bit of column A and column B, like you're saying, Nick, and also Kong, in that it's, if you fall off the world, it's a good way to save you, and it's kind of a good skill save.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling like AI and players were getting stuck a lot, and they had to figure out a solution for it. And it just became this like, here you go, here's this combo that will get you out of these potential bugs within the game itself. But
Right.
it's a really cool strategy at the same time, but it just doesn't fit with this universe.
Yeah, for sure. And unless you want to be, because I know Winners, you said it's the first game to implement it. Unless you want specifics or technicalities, Darktooth
Correct.
and TM2 technically could hyperspace.
Oh, really?
You
Yeah,
never see
he
that
can.
guy
Teleports.
teleport? He fucking does it all the time.
Yeah, man.
No, I've
God
never
forbid.
spent
You
that
go in
much
the
time
center
with him.
part.
Interesting.
Yeah,
It's
I
like-
guess-
the temple, the teleport.
Yeah.
yeah, I guess more so for like the players that is actually able to do it.
Yeah. No, I was kind of joking, but yeah, it's funny that in those games they could do that. But this
Yeah.
other thing too that was kind of interesting. I never thought about it because I have the Twist Metal 4 like case behind me, like I could look at it myself. But apparently on the back of the case it says high octane attitude with a twist, which apparently is most
What's the
likely a
twist?
reference to the original name of Twisted Metal, which is high octane.
Yeah.
Did we find out what the twist was?
Huh?
It says high
What?
octane with a twist is the
Oh,
phrase.
I don't know.
What's the twist?
It twisted
It's-
metal, dude.
Octane with a twisted metal.
Red
There you
Twins?
go.
I don't know. I guess, but I mean, it's kind of cool if that is a callback to the original, or it could be a coincidence, I guess. But
I mean, high octane is a pretty common thing
yeah,
you would say around this type of stuff.
right. But it could be a coincidence. Who knows?
Who knows?
And the last little
Chaffee knows.
tidbit thing I wrote down here is similar to TM3 and 4, or sorry, similar to TM3, Twist Metal 4 was not released outside of North America, nor was it digitally ported to Sony's PlayStation Network, and I said this earlier, due to the licensing issues with the game's music. But I also didn't, that's again, it surprised me that I didn't know TM3 and TM4 were never released outside the US.
Yeah, they were not.
There's
Wonder
no
why.
PAL release. They
So-
just don't care
Twisted
about
Metal,
it.
Twisted Metal doesn't do well outside the United States
Yeah.
because no other country really has like a car culture that
Yeah.
the United
But didn't-
States or North America does.
Didn't Black get a
That's-
PAL release?
It did.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was like severely cut. Like the reason that they didn't censor the
Mm.
cutscenes for Black was because like they couldn't justify the cost of like going back and editing it, so they just cut the whole thing. Like they knew it wouldn't sell well.
Jesus.
I
So
think
like
it
we're not going to
performs
spend
worse as
time and
well.
effort.
I think it has a
Yeah.
lower frame rate as well.
Wow.
And I'm gonna do some theorizing here, but from what I know, Twisted Metal 3 and 4 were San Diego with Sony there, which was more of the American branch of Sony, whereas Santa Monica,
Mm-hmm.
where the other Twisted Metals were more associated with 1, 2, Black, Small Brawl, and the others were closely tied to Japan. So they had more leverage to actually push those titles into the Japanese market as opposed to San Diego.
that makes sense.
Interesting.
Well, I still
that's a
don't
great
think they
point.
would have sold well. Anyway, Twisted Metal 1 and 2 in Japan, I don't think sold well at all.
No,
They
I don't
didn't.
think
I
any
doubt it.
non-American version of the game sold well.
Yeah.
They probably. I wouldn't be surprised if they sold like under 10,000 copies in
I almost
Japan.
wish Wallace was here because I'm curious because Vigilante 8 was released in Japan. I wonder if we did better than Twisted Metal in Japan.
Oh, possibly.
I actually have
I
a
saw the-
Japanese version of
Yeah.
Vigilante 8 1 and 2 over on my wall of stuff. So I'm curious how those sold. But yeah, car combat. I mean, Kong's right. It never did well over in Japan. Like they wanted cute, fluffy, more accessible, brighter colored games.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like a cultural difference.
Mm-hmm. There wasn't enough like half naked women either.
Unless
they
you
should
know
have
the
put
cheat
the cut
codes.
T1 endings. in
Yeah,
the
lets you
TM4.
know
I
the
think it
cheat
would've sold
codes.
well.
Right.
Hey,
Wow.
Japan, you don't like hard combat games? Guess what? We got cheat codes where you can see cute naked girls.
Hell yeah.
Oh shit!
We can show you TM3 flower power. Wink, wink.
Nani?
I wonder if Jappy
Nani?
takes credit for that code too.
Yeah, wasn't that
Small
Jim's
Bro was
idea?
my idea.
I think was that Kong. I think he admitted that, right? That was Jim's idea for the flower power code.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
yeah, that was Jim's idea.
What a
He
what a
told me
Did he
legend.
himself.
express any sort of like regret, or was he like, "Fuck
No,
yeah,
he
that
was
me"?
he was happy
No, he thought
about
it was
admitting
funny.
that.
That's awesome.
He's
Yeah,
proud
that
of
was
it.
funny.
Jesus Christ!
Sorry, what the flower power code? Is she naked?
No. So like in the
No.
game,
Yeah.
there's a so you know when you look at their bio, it like shows a zoom in of like their face or whatever, and it's like
Uh-huh.
more close up. If you put this code in and you went to the bio screen, it would just zoom in on her camel toe, like on her mini skirt.
Mm-hmm. Gonna get some boys get through puberty faster. Just speed up the process a little bit.
Very
Yep.
formative experience in my life.
They knew their audience.
That could maybe to a man.
Yeah, they did know their audience. That is for sure.
Yeah,
Oh my
it's
god.
weird, but whatever. Speaking of Buck, because you got me reading the back of that case, I just noticed that and the part that says 8 new multi-level Warzone with hidden levels, right below that it says "Go Buck Wild"
Really?
and interactive Neon City and all that. Yeah, it says "Go
Oh,
Buck
Buck
Wild."
Wild.
I thought about it. Wait, what? That doesn't make any sense. That sounds like a Jim Buck thing.
That's a new sticker coming up to go Buck
Big
Wild.
Buck Wild.
I mean, it probably is
Yes.
a gym thing, but it's also like the sign of the times. There was a song called Buck Wild back then, if I remember right.
Oh, true. Yeah, I've heard that
Yeah.
saying before. Go Buck Wild. Like,
Oh.
that's not new.
Yeah, me too.
Is that a saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a saying.
Buck
Yeah,
Wild,
it's
Mhm.
it refers to deers in mating season. Let's put it that way, because
Yep.
young bucks, male deers.
Yep. Go
Okay.
Buck Wild, baby.
It's
Yeah.
sexy time for deers, basically.
Which
The
is
most
funny that
recent
they would
Ice Age
use
film
that for
was
Twisted
the Ice Age
Metal.
Adventures of Buck Wild. If that helps.
Oh my god.
Oh gosh. Well, with this episode already being like our longest episode yet, I'd say we probably should get into our rating of the game. I guess I can't remember if I've gone for. I think I've gotten last every single time. So, Kong, what do you give TM4 out of 10?
On hardware, I would I'll separate it between hardware and emulation because
That's fair.
I think they're two different games on if you play it on both. Like emulation, I would give it like a solid 7 or 8 because
Oh,
it's
yeah.
actually stable, it's fun, it runs well, it works. Like obviously you gotta get over a hurdle of like the control
Yeah.
change. On console, actually on PlayStation 1, I mean you might have to give it like a 4 because it doesn't really work. It's like the game doesn't even fucking work sometimes because
Yeah.
it just freezes. Like it kind of can get annoying with the
Mhm.
frame rate problem, which is the biggest issue. But playing it through emulation, it's still a lot of fun. Like that's where the fun is gonna happen, you know.
Yeah.
And I recommend playing it on emulation.
Just a question for you, Kong. I imagine running the game should be a little bit better because the PS2 was like backwards compatible.
Hmm.
I don't know. I've never played it on a PS2.
Oh, really? That's crazy. Okay.
I don't know if that's the case. I actually
No,
wonder.
That's crazy.
No. Honestly, I've actually always played, because I never had my PS1 again, but I remember playing on a PS2 all the time, and I
Oh,
never
sure.
really had that experience, which is kind of weird, but makes sense,
I mean, if
right?
if the PS2 removes that problem,
Yeah.
then
I think it
I would just
does,
give it
yeah.
the same end.
It does, other than like pure lunacy, but that's to be expected.
Wow. I guess it makes
Okay,
sense.
well,
Stronger
I guess
hardware.
if you're playing it on a PS2, then I guess it's no. I would just keep the same rating of just like a 7 or 8. Then
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I think the PS2 performs better than even the PS3 does. So I think the PS3 does try to do like a 1-to-1 emulation of the PS1, where the PS2 actually does try to utilize the better hardware.
I agree. Yeah.
I never thought of that.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Drew? Speaking of your rating
boy.
of TM4.
Oh boy, yeah. So I gave Twist Metal 3 the rating of 989 studios out of 10.
Yeah.
And I think this game was an improvement over the original or over Twisted Metal 3. So I think naturally it has to be a higher rating than that. So I think what I'll do
Wow.
is what is 989 plus 989? Hold on.
I was gonna say you gotta double it.
Yeah.
I don't
Double or
know.
nothing.
Over
It is
1,000
double
something.
99.
I hear that calculator
Hold
clicking.
on.
Or
Hold on.
2,000
I-
something?
Tick,
It's
tick,
gotta be
tack,
like
it is 1978.
1978. What a good year.
Hell
It
yeah.
was a great year. Yeah, so I'll do that out of 10.
All right. 1978 out of 10.
Jesus Christ.
Winters, what about you?
Honestly, this is I just fucking love this game. I think there's some misses. I think some what's nice about this game is some of the weapons can kind of feel underwhelming. Some of the characters are still they're new, but some of them do kind of suck a little bit. Like I don't know, I always felt like Drag Queen it was just so random. But I feel like it's got some funny endings. I feel like it was definitely improving over 3. The combat is just fucking awesome. It's way better. It's more tighter. It's quicker. Um, so I would say probably like an 8.5 out of 10.
Hell
And,
yeah.
and the soundtrack definitely fucking does it for me, for 100%. But with Pedro's mod, it's 10 out of 10. So that's my pick. That's my take.
Now consider
Especially
the intro movie. Does the intro movie boost it up for you?
the intro movie.
Yes.
Mhm.
Oh, where like Sweet Tooth joins like a carnival and like
Yes.
yeah. Uh, I was just kind of indifferent to it. My favorite part of that intro is like when it goes from like Calypso's like shooting fucking lightning bolts and Sweet Tooth and Sweet Tooth's like yeah, he's like moving his hands up and down.
When South
And-
Central
but, like,
kicks in.
But that honestly that's the best part for me is that transition between that and then
The future.
Sweet Tooth is driving the car and you hear like the engine rev like that's a fucking cool ass transition and then like you can
There's a
actually
couple
see
really
the car.
good ones in that, and there's
Yeah,
a couple
like-
good ass transitions in that intro. Like
Yeah,
no
there
joke.
is.
It's really well done compared to what
Like
they
his
did with
eye.
3.
The one with his
Yeah,
eye. I think
yeah.
that's the best transition in there.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, like pretty fucking cool. But
Mhm.
yeah, honestly, the intro definitely does it for me. It's one of the more better intros, I think. Just
Yeah.
it's kind of different about the carnival part.
Mm-hmm.
Is that enough to boost it from 8.5 to 9?
I would say, yeah, let's go ahead for a 9.
Yes.
Woo! For 99, got it.
But 10.5 out of 10 with Pedro's mod. Gotta add that sum up.
All right, and Dave, what do you think after playing TM4 for the first time the other day?
Oh my. I've only played it on an emulator. And Drew, 1978 was a good year. I remember it
Yeah.
well. That being said, this was their second one in the basically in their dev cycle. They made a lot of improvements. I felt like they could have pushed it a little bit more. So, is it me or are the cars hard to see in the game because they don't have health bars or names above them or any kind of UI indicator? That was a frustration for me. The weapons, I couldn't see them in the environment at all. I wish they put some kind of glow or something on them half the time, just to call them out a bit more. The level design was creative, but also it was a bit rough for me at times, especially Minion Maze. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that was a hard
Yeah.
time. And Sweet Tooth, good God, I have never faced such a difficult boss.
It's pretty bad.
My
That-
God.
It's not even fair. Like, you gotta give the
it's
player a
not.
chance. It's one freeze and one special, and you're done. And the special you cannot escape from. Like, it was rough.
Yeah.
Overall, they had a short dev cycle. I like what they did. They did some really cool, innovative stuff with Creative Car. They pushed a lot of new stuff into the game, a lot of new characters, a lot of new mechanics and weapons I thought were really cool. But I think that was at the sacrifice of kind of cleaning up some things they should have done.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give it a 7. And this is purely from a dev perspective, who's played it for the first time, in modern day, which is probably an unfair lens to look at it through, because you guys have looked through, you played it when you were kids and you loved it, and you embrace the flaws and also embrace the like a lot of the cool shit they put into it. So,
Hmm.
your score is going to be a bit higher than mine, but fresh eyes in current day, I'm going to give it a 7.
Definitely fair. This is
Yeah.
kind of hard for me to like rate as well because I'm trying to remember back what I gave TM3. I think I gave it a 6 or a 6.5. And I do definitely like TM4 over TM3. So it's gonna have to be higher than a 6 for me. But I also want to say I've been definitely spoiled rotten by like Pedro's mod.
Oh my god.
Just because
Yeah.
like like Kong was saying, like the emulator version is just it's a superior version by far, which is you don't really see that too often. Emulator is usually the kind of the worst version. Like usually the hardware is the one you want to go with, but the emulator just kicks its ass like in the best way possible. Like it runs better, it
Yeah.
doesn't crash, and then when you got Pedro's mod changing up the pretty much every aspect of the game to be better for the tournament, it's hard to go back to the vanilla version, but I did play the vanilla version just the other day to get a refresher, and I gotta say, like, going back to the vanilla one after all these times of playing with the emulator, um, I gotta say, like, I'm gonna have to give it 2 different ratings as well, like Kong said. So if I was playing on a hardware, or if I'm using the emulator without overclocking it, I I'd probably have to give it a 7 because like I'd give it 1 point above TM3. Main reason because they did fix a lot of the issues I had with TM3 with the physics, the level design, stuff like that. But they also brought some issues with this game, like having a boss on every level. I just never have liked that design choice. It makes the bosses not as appealing or interesting, more just an annoyance, and it makes the tournament feel longer than it needs to be. Some of the levels are just too big, too ambitious, not enough car combat going on. It can get kind of monotonous over time. But I love that they had the create a car. I loved all the new cars they added. Pizza Boy's in the game. Melvin is in the game. I love the soundtrack. I mean, there's a lot of good here. So I would definitely give it a 7 at least. And then if I'm playing on an emulator with overclocking enabled, it goes up to like an 8.5, almost a 9 for me out of 10. And then with Pedro's mod, it's a 10 out of 10 easily because like it's everything
Yeah.
that TM4 should have been, from the get go, with making the special weapons actually feel powerful. Makes the boss fights more fun and interesting. It makes the tournament overall just a better experience, and I can't thank him enough for doing that. Um, but yeah, it's a good game. It's a lot of fun. Well, even with its flaws, I can overlook them and have a great time. So yeah, that's definitely my score. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that should wrap it up. We gave all our scores on TM4. This is our longest episode by far, almost hitting the 2 hour mark, believe it or not.
It
Um,
deserves it.
it deserves it. Like it really does. TM4 did a lot of amazing things, and like Dave brought up with their time crunch, it is pretty remarkable all the stuff they were able to crunch into this game. So got to give them props for that, and Jim Buck, of course, all the props for that as well. But hope you guys enjoyed the stream here. I hope you guys enjoyed listening and watching, and that you'll check out our next week's episode. I believe it's going to be on Twisted Metal Black and Twisted Metal Black Online, kind of mashed together. So be ready for another long episode because I think we're going to have a lot to talk about there, especially hearing it from Dave's perspective on working on TM Black Online. Be a lot of fun. So we'll hope to see you guys there. Have a good one.
Well, one more thing. I think for anyone who thinks 1978 wasn't a great year, on this day in 1978, the Dutch women hockey team won the world championship. So just wanted to throw that out there.
And Drew, this is why you're my friend.
Bruh.
That was the reason
Nothing
Dave
wrong.
liked that year. that was the reason.
The
Like
fact that
nothing
you'll
else
find
to
facts
offer.
around a random date that I was alive during actually amuses me so much.
He witnessed it firsthand.
Oh, what a good episode.